Well, good evening. Little haunted bookshop across the world famous hot dog lighter, or Zippo. It's a perfect night for haunted bookshop. We had a storm come through Rhode Island. It was a little intense at first. I got nervous with the pool cover yet again. But it held up, thankfully. And all is good. However, tonight, I have an interesting tale to tell. Oops. And that is the tale of Abigail Staples, which is another New England, or, well, Rhode Island vampire, allegedly. We got like a... They're like Dunkin' Donuts around here. We got them everywhere. This one's an interesting one, and it's kind of a... I wouldn't say personal, because... Well, I didn't know them personally, obviously. I have no relation to any of the Staples or anything like that. Not that I'm aware of. But Abigail resided in the same town, same hometown that I grew up in, Cumberland, Rhode Island. And this is the local legend that happened... I knew about growing up. Actually, there's a few other stories in Cumberland. I could do the whole month of stuff that goes on in Cumberland, Rhode Island, with ghosts and witches and whatnot. But in any case, getting to Abigail. Now, this was the cemetery I was going to visit. I thought about visiting, but it's hard to find her marker. You can't even find her marker, because the grave is, well, it's very... It's a spooky old grave, I'll say that. And the stones are so worn out, you can barely read what they say, and most of them are sunken into the ground now. Probably would have been a good idea to go visit it in the summer, because you probably would have, well, then again, the leaves and stuff are still in the ground then. But anyway, this is a cemetery that's off of a road in Cumberland that's named after the Staples. It's right off, you go off the main road, it's like right there. It's kind of weird. Anyway, so I've been to it long ago when I was in high school and stuff, and, nothing happened. Nothing crazy or anything. It's just a spooky old grave, and I can see why the lore and the legend kind of continues. It's not as well known in Cumberland today, I don't think, as it used to be. There's actually, when I grew up, there was another legend of a vampire and a witch buried in a cemetery in another part of Cumberland, but maybe I'll research that a little bit. Maybe it might not be till next year, but in any case, as far as I know, this is the one that people know about in Cumberland. And this is an interesting story because, well, here's the thing. Abigail died of consumption. I think she was either 19 or 23. Again, young woman, just starting her prime, or just starting life, really. And she died from this terrible disease, which is tuberculosis. And so she passed away, and then her sister ended up getting consumption. I want to say within 6 months of Abby passing away, or Abigail passing away. And she was having these nightmares and sweats and everything, and having fits, and she'd jump up in bed with raging fever and saying Abigail. She'd yell Abigail's name. She told her husband that there was a shadowy figure that was around her and stuff. And being in the 18th, 19th century, the 19th century, superstition was kind of running wild, especially around here with tuberculosis. Everyone started thinking vampires for some reason. It's almost like I said, I think I said this in Nellie Vaughn's video, it was very much like the mass hysteria of the Salem witch trials, just on a different scale and tone, but it was kind of the same craziness. so to speak, especially in Rhode Island, apparently, because we got they're like Dunkin' Donuts. Like I said, there's a vampire everywhere. So Abigail's father started to worry and kind of, I guess, I think people convinced him to do this, and I don't know if it was her sister's husband that decided, that kind of convinced him to go to the town. And there's a record of them going on. What day was this? Let's see. Let me see if I got it. If I still got it punched up here. Let me see. Yeah, on the 8th of February, 1796. Lavina, that's her sister, was the one who was dying here. So I guess they kind of convinced the father for the greater good, I guess you could say. So he goes to the town council on the 8th of February, 1796, and pleads with the councils this is recorded in the town's logbook, of him saying that he wants to exhume the body and perform experiments. They don't say what those experiments are, but obviously it's the old take the lungs and heart out and burn it and all that stuff. And so, in any case, he convinces him after a lengthy discussion. And I'll leave the link that I was looking at just so you guys can check it out and take a look at it. And discuss what he wanted to do. And he even says, I think when he's arguing with the town of why he wants to do this, he says he's even sound of mind and doesn't normally believe such things. But I think for him, he was a desperate father. He already lost one daughter. Now, this one is dying to the same disease. So I guess he was desperate. He's like, yeah, I'll try this. I don't think I know they did it. They granted him permission, and they did this. So somewhere in that grave, they did dig up the body, do their thing, perform the ritual, and then kind of buried her somewhere in there. Nobody knows exactly where. It's hard to tell now due to time, like I said, eroding the graves and, not being kept, really. There's no one keeping those graves, sadly. Again, worse condition than down where Nellie Vaughan is. But this grave seems to be even older than that one. Like, this is like 1796. That's a few years after the country was formed, right? So they did that, and the legend was born. I don't think her sister lived much longer after that. I think she did succumb to it. So it didn't help. It's very similar to Mercy Brown, and I'll get into Mercy Brown at some point this month. I don't know when yet, but so that is the story of Abigail. That is why she's kind of the known, and I think she's technically the first vampire in Rhode Island, and maybe even New England. Although I believe Tillinghast is one of them. Sarah Tillinghast, I think, is the first one. But I could be mistaken. I might be flopping the two. I'm not sure. Swapping the two. I'm not sure. I'll have to find out when I get to that one. It's just an interesting... You could not do that today. Like, go up to the petition the town to do this. Maybe if you mentioned some kind of religious rite or something, maybe that would work. I don't know. I doubt it. But it's strange. It's a strange thing. And I guess this only fuels like later cases that go on with vampirism, right? Like where the Nellie Vaughan situation happens, or people start to believe that. But like Mercy Brown as well, who is the last vampire. So you can see where something like this, like, well, hey, in Cumberland, this happened, so we got to do this, right? So very interesting to say the least. If you're in Cumberland, maybe check it out. You're not going to see much other than, I got to be honest, the headstones, they look like slates that are just sticking up, and they're not really looking like tombstones. There's a few that look like you think of a tombstone, but there's others, it's just like they just put a slate in the ground and kind of wrote something on it and then just left it at that and moved on with life, so to speak. So it's not exactly the best looking cemetery to do anything. So that's why I didn't decide to go and do an on location video with Abigail. It might have been cool. Ugh. I think I got a piece of tobacco in there. It would have probably been cool to check out, but again, I don't think it's not as interesting as the grave that I went to visit with Nellie Vaughn. I'll say that. However, I decided a backup plan. There is a grave in Cumberland that I will visit that involves a ghost. So that'll be interesting. Me hunting down a ghost. Maybe I'll have another ghost experience. I doubt it, but hey, we'll give it a try. So that's the tale of Abigail. Like I said, I'll leave some links down below. There's not much other information than that and the lore and the legend, but I don't recall when we grew up that it was a big to-do. Like, there wasn't, people weren't scared of Abigail. They didn't mention Abigail all that much, except for around maybe now. People would go to her grave and, like, hope something would happen, but, nothing ever happened. So, other than that, there was the old, there was a vampire in Cumberland, There's also supposedly a witch, ghosts galore, and, all those other things, but tonight is a spooky night, though, here in Rhode Island. And that went out again. I don't know why. So it is the perfect night for a haunted bookshop. Now, I'll say this. Now, Mark from Rhode Island, yesterday, another YouTube piper, he posted a quick video that he took somewhere in Rhode Island of a little grave that's just kind of like near these houses or whatever. And that is the thing with New England, especially Rhode Island. There's graves all over the place. Like, even where I work, there's a grave. Where I went to high school, there's a grave. The monastery, there's graves. They're everywhere. They're like in little nooks and corners, and there's always I might have shown it when I went to Nellie Vaughn's grave. I might have shown the sign that says Rhode Island Historical Cemetery number whatever it is. They're all marked. But they're very interesting. They're everywhere. They're kind of just like, so you can see why, and a lot of them are kind of creepy, like the one like Abigail is. And I suggest you Google it and you look it up and you look at the grave. It's kind of a little creepy. The next one that I kind of am going to go to, I'm going to go to this one in Cumberland. That's a little more creepy, to be honest. But this is like just after the country's founded, and there's this little grave, and I know for me, like when I see a grave like that, when the country just was formed, basically, and you see these graves, and then I try to transport myself back in time and what it looked like, because those houses weren't there in the background that are around this grave, because this grave too, with Abigail, there's houses here, there, and there, and the road's right there, and then this little grave is there, the Staples graveyard where they all were buried. And this is the funny thing, because after they do the experiments or whatever, her father, her sister, and brother-in-law and all that, they kind of just like vanish. There's nothing else after that. Kind of just happens, and that's it. So maybe it did work. I don't know. I don't think so. All right. Well, that's the night. That is the video for tonight. I did a little talking about Abigail. Hopefully you find that a little interesting. I will link a few links to Abigail. Again, there's not much because this was early on in American history, so there's not much. But it's an interesting story. So I figured I'd talk about it here in the shed, and then we'll go on location for the other stuff, and that'll be fun. I probably will be off tomorrow. I don't think I'm going to do a video tomorrow. I got a few things podcasting-wise I want to kind of plan out. So, but anyway, that's going to do it. I'm out of here. I will see you guys later.